Please, let's change the world, yeah, yeah. Let's change the world.
Hey, good morning, Spokane. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time of the day it is when you tap into this show. My name is Sean with the Milestones Squadcast. I was just telling Brother Will I call it the Squadcast because in order to change our community and save a dying generation, it's going to take a team, a squad.
Yes, sir.
So today I'm joined by Will Davis, a former gang leader, gang member from Compton, California, who now lives up here in Spokane. He has a brother, Pastor Sean Davis, who's well known throughout our community from Jesus is the Answer Church. Um, the last time we were on the show, we were talking about the gang issue in our community. I had Chief Midle, Sheriff Ozzie, Philip Tyler, and Latrice Williams. Um, and that was part one of this conversation on the gang violence in our community. A couple days ago, we got together and we had a live press conference with the sheriff, and we're just continuing the conversation. I feel like with the recent killing over this past weekend, um, that
Brother
one
Ford.
really, yeah, that one really affected a lot of people. And so after the press conference, I was at Walmart that evening, and a lady approached me and she was like, did I just see you on TV? And I'm like, no, not me. She was like, some guy looks just like you, and he was wearing exactly what you're wearing. And I was like, yeah, I'm just playing. That was me.
Right.
And she shared with me how she's afraid to go out, even to her car in the evening in their driveway, and that her husband don't let her leave the house by herself when it gets dark. And
Wow.
so what she had affirmed that the message was spot on. So I want to continue the conversation and trying to help people to see the reality of what's going on today, and then what it will look like 5, 10 years from now if we continue to act like the problem doesn't exist.
Exists.
Yeah. So welcome, man. Thank you for joining me, Don.
Thank you for having me, Sean. My name is William Davis, and as Sean stated, I am from Compton, California. I grew up in Watts, actually.
And you helped start a
In
couple
the
of
Jordan Down
sets.
Projects, yes. In 1963, I'm telling my age, I moved into the Jordan Down Projects with my auntie, and I had about 4, 5, 6 different friends, and we actually lived on 103rd and Grape. So they
Grape
called us
Street.
the Grape Street Boys
Right.
at the beginning. And when we first started out, it was a community group. I mean, we took care of the projects. It was 4 projects in Watts. But as time transpired, things got a little more out of hand, and then we added more to the group, and the gang violence started. Probably
It
around,
erupted more
yeah,
as drugs got introduced into the
around
community.
65, just after
Yeah.
the riots, the Watts riots,
Watts riots,
which
yeah.
I participated in. The violence, got a little more. We got connected with some East Side guys, Raymond Washington and his crew, and then we connected with Tookie Williams up in
So
his crew.
these are the men that started the Crip gang.
Raymond Washington is given the credit for starting the East Side Crips, and
Right.
then Tookie Williams
For West Side Crips.
is West Side, and we
Yeah.
all used to gather together at this Sportsman Park and just hang out. We were teenagers.
Right.
Matter
So
of
those
fact,
gangs you helped start, the Grape Street,
yeah, and then we moved to Compton, and then some of the
that
guys
stuff got
that-
around the world, man.
It got
Like I
around the
knew
world.
dudes that were claiming that stuff out in even Germany.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like
I
I
mean-
just really want to highlight the depth of your involvement in it in at its infant stages of gangs,
Mhm.
right?
At the beginning,
the very beginning
yeah,
of it,
from
and you saw it.
63 up to 69.
You saw it grow.
I saw it growing, and every time, you know what I mean, there was a situation in different parts of the city, we were all called together by Tookie, to meet. It's called Sportsman Park. Now it's Jesse Owens in Los Angeles, and we would all meet up, and Tookie would map out what we were going to do and what neighborhoods we were going to attack.
And take over.
and take over. Yes, sir.
Right,
Yes, sir.
right.
That was the job once Tookie and Raymond started making decisions for Watts, Compton, East Side, West Side.
Right. So you mentioned the other day when we were talking that you were part of the people, the crew of people that would send gang members to other states, other cities.
In 19...
Was that correct?
82, 83, Crips got involved, and the Bloods got involved with a guy named Freeway Rick.
Ricky Ross.
Ricky Ross.
Right.
And
The
Ricky
real Rick Ross.
Yeah, the real Rick Ross, not the rapper. Anyway,
Right.
Rick Ross had a connection with DEA, which is Drug Enforcement,
Mm-hmm.
and he was working with them because at that time, Nicaragua was fighting to be independent, and our government was helping them. I mean, this is facts. You can Google this. And Rick Ross, they gave him the cocaine. He put it in the streets, and a lot of gang members were getting packages from him and disputing them. And what happened was 82, 83, there was a decision made because the police department was coming in and crashing homes. They had the battering rams and everything, so it was hot. So the gangs decided and got together and said, hey, we need to send drugs out to other states. And that's when people started picking different states to get on the Greyhound to transport the drugs to different states, because at the time, Greyhound didn't even have the dogs. They didn't have sniffers.
Right,
You could
right.
take 2, 3, 4 keys and put them on the Greyhound and ride the bus to another state, which first it was Seattle, and then eventually Spokane became
Yeah,
one of the
Seattle,
focal point.
Tacoma, Portland.
First. That was
Right.
the first shipments went out. And once that became profitable, then we came down the map, and then Spokane happened to
Right.
be the next stop coming down the map.
So another thing we talked about back then that it seems to be happening still here in Spokane, like one of the advantages of these gangs sending work into these smaller towns is that the people aren't aware, they're not prepared, they're not equipped to try to stop it.
Well, I mean, you got to understand that if something comes into a city that they haven't had to deal with for years or forever,
Ever, yeah.
you know what I mean? It's new, so it's going to take them a time, you know what I mean,
Right.
to get adjusted, to see what's going on, see what the consequences are, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it takes a long time for them to catch up. So the same thing is happening with Spokane today is
We
the
need to
gangs
catch
have
up.
been here, but now that the violence has escalated and the kids are younger,
It's
and
hard to
we've
hide
had
it.
so
Everybody
many,
notices it
so
now.
many deaths compacted in one period of time.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like, whoa, we
You
got
can't
a
help
problem.
but notice it.
We got a problem.
Right.
What can we do? And that's where, we're here to talk about, not
What
only
can we do?
not only the solutions, but also, I want people to understand there's a different type of mentality to be involved in the gang, to participate in gang activity, and to actually follow through on certain acts. Back in the day, we
Yeah.
had guys that we knew were just good at holding drugs, guys that were good at doing burglaries, car thefts, because we used stolen cars to do our gang activities.
Right.
And then we had guys that we knew would be involved in committing, personal harm.
Shooting people, shooters.
Exactly.
Right.
You can actually talk to a person over a period of time and say, oh, this guy is a shooter.
Right.
But what we have now here in Spokane, that the gangs have escalated to where certain guys are almost being raised to be shooters. Every case we've had in the last 10 months, I've known the kids. Me and my brother have worked with the kids, and we know the mentality of the shooters that's been arrested for all the murders that's happened.
So
up until now.
let's talk really quickly about your involvement in our community and the kind of work you've done since you've been up here.
Well, ever since I've been here, it's been, it's under the mentoring label. But I'm a counselor. You know what I mean? I do anger management. I do alcohol, drug education.
You got 3
Gained
college degrees.
3 degrees in different
Right.
things. You know what I mean?
That's crazy, man.
So, when it comes to me addressing the kid, and they know that I'm one of the guys that originated the problem, I get a better rapport with the kids.
You
and
got credibility with them.
street credibility
Right.
than most people here in Spokane. So, we've been able to really, really touch a lot of lives, and I'm always thinking out what I didn't do right in this particular case, you know what I mean? But my brother being a pastor, has always said, you never walked on water, that hits me, because I want to save everybody because I know, because even personally, I have lost two of my brothers due to gang activity. My personal brothers, my blood brothers,
Right.
have been killed due to gang violence, something that I was a part of starting, But here, what I want the community to understand that we had, even though I had gang banged and everything, we had a lot of good community support towards the end.
Right. So what role, like, how did God bring you out of it? Because I know.
It was mostly actually, I'm in a 12-step program. I have 21 years
Right.
clean and sober. I've been involved in active in four different anonymous groups: AA, NA, CA, and then CGA. CGA is Gangs and Criminals Anonymous in California. But my faith was based on the program itself. It wasn't actually until I got to Spokane in 2016 and I started going to my brother's church that I started getting a better spiritual connection with God. I started seeing the results.
You started encountering Jesus in your
Yes,
life.
yes.
You began to see it because it was always there.
It was always there, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
The
He was
prayers from
always
my
there.
families,
Right.
and I knew God is the one that brought me out of all of my problems and kept me safe and kept me out of jails and institutions.
For a time just like right now. For times
for
such
now,
as this. Yeah.
and like I said, I listened to my religious leaders, which is actually my brother and my sister. I have a baby sister who's a pastor. So whenever I have those religious, you know what I mean, and I'm combating, I can call either my brother or sister, which is is a blessing for me. When you
Right.
can go to your siblings for spiritual and religious guidance, and that's what
Wise counsel. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I just don't just go out and do whatever I want to do anymore, like I
Right.
used to do when I was gangbanging.
So you want to talk a little bit more about what it is the sheriff is doing, what the chief is trying to do?
Well, from the meeting we had the other day, because for 16 years I worked with Compton Sheriff Carson in L.A. You have the sheriff department and you have the local police. So you got the LAPD, you got Sheriff Carson, Wilmington, San Pedro. I worked in that area, and out there they're more into proactive and suppression, which I mean is they're always addressing the gang problem. They're
Right.
always visible. They're always around, and that was one of the reasons that the gangs move so much, because of the suppression and the visibility of the police.
Right. They had to
They had
evade.
to move. They had to evade,
Right, right.
And my thing is the community always supported whatever programs. I worked with a program with this ex-football player, Hall of Famer Jim Brown. I've worked with Snoop Dogg. He had a football camp. He used to come down to a program I worked. There was a lot of other people that helped out to suppress the gang violence. The program I work with, I used to go in the community all the time and talk to the gang leaders and the gang bangers, you know what I mean? Because I had them in my group, in my program, and I said, look, as long as this guy is trying to get off probation, trying to stop gangbanging, I need your support. And they would give it to me. We got together with
The
some
local gang
the local
leaders.
leaders. I mean, we knew they were gang leaders. I knew them. They knew me. They knew my
Right.
nephew. They knew my brother. So that connection, because I had family connection, I could go and say, hey, I don't want this guy gangbanging no more. And they say, okay, Will. And they would tell him, you can no longer gangbang as long as you're in this program trying to get your life together. We need that here. We need to go into the communities and let them know that there's resources. There's
Right.
things for the kids to do. Before I left Los Angeles, we had what you talked about, the wraparound system.
Right.
Where you got the probation officer, we had a pastor, we had the school, we had mental health, because I also work with mental health. because we know some kids have different diagnoses,
Right.
different issues.
PTSD, all
Yeah,
that.
due
Yeah.
to a lot of different things. Up here, our biggest problem here in Spokane is kids have two different diagnoses that are serious: ADD and ODD. ADD is the attention difference, and then you have oppositional defiance disorder. Now they are connecting. So you have a kid that's running around hyperactive, and then you have
Being
one that's
defiant.
defiant. You
Right.
put those two together, and that's what we got today in Spokane. And
Seeing a lot of this is the home environment that
home
they're growing up in,
environment, because
the
think
trauma
about
they're
think about
exposed
this:
to.
if you got a kid that's hyper, you know what I mean, you're constantly telling this kid, go sit down, go over there, stop that, don't do
Nah,
this, don't
that
do
ain't
that.
gonna work,
And
man.
after a period of time, that kid is going to mentally be affected, psychologically and emotionally. And then when he goes to school and the teachers say, sit down, F you, go here, go there, I'll do this. And the kids are more threatening. I worked in like 4 different elementary schools, and I saw and heard some things that I know I would have got a beat down,
Yeah,
if
growing
I had
up.
said that to an adult.
Yeah, yeah.
So now our kids don't respect our adults.
Right.
They don't respect the teachers. So here we are. What
Right.
are we going to do with that situation as well?
Right. So the SAVE program that Sheriff Ozzie is launching, it stands for the Sheriff's Anti-Violence Effort. And what that is they're bringing together resources to help these kids have options for jobs, equipping them to get into the job field. Um, we're looking at bringing in different programs so that these kids have options for different activities and things to explore and be a part of. Because what you're talking about, like with the kid that's got ADD and ODD, he needs something to do. You can't just tell that kid sit down, be quiet,
Yeah.
and do your homework. Like
That's
not
where you get threatened.
right, and that's not working.
No, it's not.
We need to have, if we're gonna ask them to leave this lifestyle, we gotta have something for them to go to.
Exactly.
So getting the churches involved, getting these youth groups involved, these different ministries, Youth for Christ. I just met. Do you know Marlon Pratt?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna connect y'all together too. I just met him last night, but he's got a similar program out of the out of East Central. I think it's the MLK Center, but he's working with kids too. And so like we need to connect the resources, the groups, with the law enforcement, who's also connected to like the probationary officers, the judges.
Right.
They're trying to have a different option for these kids. We need to get churches involved because if we present these to these kids, like, hey, if you change your life and leave this lifestyle, this is what we have to offer you to help you.
You got to.
But if you don't, then like Sheriff said, then now you fend for yourself. And if you get out there and commit another crime and we catch you, now you're not going to have this opportunity and you're going to have to face the charges for your crime.
Exactly. I mean, anytime you go into address a group of high risk, dysfunctional kids, and you say, "Well, I need you to stop smoking. I need you to go to school. I need you to pay attention. I need you to behave, be respectful at home." All them components, you know what I mean? They're listening to you, but you have to say, and then
You got to follow up with action.
And then, we have this after school program where you can go play basketball, football, soccer.
You record some music.
You can do
Shoot
recording
some
music.
video.
You can do
Yeah.
a lot of different things if you stop
Right.
doing XXX. We got to have that. And the thing about it is they have to believe.
You got to be real about it.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
got to believe that what you're telling them can come into the play. And that's my whole connection with the kids is they know my change over the last 21 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't hide anything from my kids. You know what I mean? On my gang and criminal activity throughout the years, you know what I mean? My brother's always saying, God, already knows what you're going to go through. And when you come out of it, he's going to utilize that.
He already knows what he's going to
What
do.
he's going to
use
do
it
with
for.
you when he comes out, and that's
Yeah.
where my assets are. Is my life
Your
experience,
testimony, man.
and I mean, I can actually say for 60 years, I was a part of being dysfunctional and other people being well. No, I got 21 years clean, so maybe 50.
Right.
To where I actually, gave people advice on how to be dysfunctional, how to
Yeah.
be dishonest,
Right, yeah.
how to,
You
as a
taught them.
group, yes,
You
to be
taught
as
them.
a group, we
Right.
need to function in this way and this way. And I was a part of that. Even when I got more and more addicted to alcohol and drugs, I was still around dysfunctional people.
Right.
So I know the mentality. I've sat around and went through and had the same demons, at the same table with other people.
Right.
And then when I came out of it, I was able to help. First 9 years, I was working with adults in rehab. And that's when Congresswoman Maxine Waters was my mentor, and she showed me the political part of treatment. And that's how I got to do the interviews at the White House, because I was advocating for change. I had made some changes. They looked at my history and they said, if this person can change and do this and another, then I can advocate and other people that get the same help I got coming out in 2000, that the next person could do the same thing. That's what I
Right.
believe in.
Right. Amen. One of the things I really want to highlight to the community, because you talked about how you guys. So like, I didn't grow up in LA, but I know a lot about what the guys you talked about, the different gangs you've mentioned, Tookie Williams, Ray Washington. You know what I'm saying? Like, the gang meetings,
Right.
they were happening in other cities in other states around the country.
Right.
Right. And so, and those were plans
Plans, yeah.
to take over territory
Yes, sir.
up from other gangs with violence. And then you talked about shipping shipping drugs out of state, right, to other cities.
Right.
In order for all of that to happen, there's communication,
Yes.
right? There's a certain level of unity in that for all those operations to take place. Would you agree on that?
Oh, sure. I mean,
Right. So what I want to point out is that if we're going to save the generation of kids here in Spokane, we have to come together as a community and work together, share our resources, share our knowledge, give these options and opportunities to these kids. Because if we continue to try to do it separately and individually, and then also turn a blind eye and not get involved like it doesn't exist, we're going to lose these kids.
well, like I said the other day, we're already in the hole.
We already
We're
are.
already behind.
Right.
I've been here 5 years. I say we're 10 years behind. Because the kids that committed the murders and the shootings, you know what I mean, they were 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. So
Yeah.
that meant when I got here, they were like in middle
7,
school.
yeah.
They were in middle school, being dysfunctional. We saw, when I first got here, I was working at Logan, right? And they sent me over there to work with a kid. He was 10 years old. This kid had 3 years, a rap sheet. They printed out for me this kid's rap sheet in school. He had assaults, he had batteries on other students, he had threats of violence. For 3 years, they let this kid, go unattended, and threaten. The last result was he had jumped on the vice principal. And that's when they called me in to work with this kid. It took 3 years for him to jump on the vice principal for they said, oh, this kid has a problem.
Yeah.
That don't make no sense to me. I could
Right.
not believe that
Yeah.
the school district had waited that
Why
long
they waited
for
that
this
long.
kid to just run amok. And then when
Right.
I got it, I've talked to the kid. That was back in 2017. He's doing good now. Moved to Cheney with his family. Yeah, doing very well. No behavior problems, none of that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's because of helping the resources. And that's why we have to start
Somebody
catching
taking the
young-
time to notice
Somebody
them.
taking time.
Spend time with them.
I know
Speak life
dysfunction.
into them. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about it is another point we have to start earlier. We have to go.
gotta get 'em
Somebody
when
has
they're
to go
young.
into the elementary schools. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And find out what's going on. We had a kid shut down a middle school earlier this year, and all he said was, "I got somebody bringing me some guns, and I'm shooting up the whole school." They had to call all the police and SWAT and everybody else to shut it down
Wow.
just because he said that. My thing when I talked to him was, "What were you thinking about? Why did you think it was okay?" You know, he used to live around the corner from my brother's church, and we knew the whole family. You know, and he said, "Well, they kept messing with me, and I knew if I said that everybody would everybody would have to stay in their classrooms." And this is what they shut it down. You know?
Yeah.
And he knew that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the mentality that we need to address now.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Because, like I said the other day, it takes a whole different type of mentality, a mindset for a kid to
shoot.
contemplate and plan, pick up in the gun, going somewhere, pointing the gun, and pulling the trigger.
Right.
You know what I mean? That is something that's learned over a period of time. Kid doesn't just wake up one day and say, "I'm a shooter. I'm going to shoot some people." There's
Right.
some things that's happened in that kid's life,
Right.
or some people have taught this kid that it's okay to pull the trigger.
Right. And it's really demonic, man.
It is. It
in the
is.
spirit realm, what's happening is that influence, that demonic influence, is really feeding to that kid what's already happening in his life.
What he
What he
already,
already
seen,
sees
he's seen, he's
and is
heard it. You
experiencing.
know, my brother is always talking about we're in a
Spiritual
warfare.
So really, that's really what's happening.
You know, and we're fighting against, like I said, different, you know, personality demons,
Yeah.
mental demons. You know, 'cause
Spiritual, or what is that?
a lot of
high principality.
Yeah, a lot of more people in Spokane are coming down with mental disorders. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's demonic.
PTS this and bipolar this and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And are looking for some type of help, especially to deal with kids.
Right. Right.
But like you said, it's I think this is like the third or fourth day that I really believe, because like I said, I've been in politics, I've been doing the gang stuff for years. This is the first time that I actually feel that Spokane and the community is ready to do something. I think
Yeah, I
they're
think
tired.
they're tired of
you
it.
know, or I wouldn't be sitting here. I just don't do, you know, press conferences and interviews, and you know, I just don't do a whole lot of fat mouthing about what should be done if nothing's going to be done. I
Right.
just feel, and I prayed on it. I spoke to my brother this morning, and I think right now, because of the brother that was shot over the weekend, I think the city is ready to make some changes, and they're going to support, you know, what we're doing,
Right.
and that way we can kind of put a little pressure on those in seats and positions, you know, because this is going to take some funding. I just heard that the city got a whole lot of money to do something with, and I think some of that money should go to community outreach, and because I know when I worked for the police department in Los Angeles, they paid me to go into the neighborhoods and talk to the families,
Right.
talk to the kids.
That's what I've been talking with the chief about, man.
yeah.
Like, they need to be able to send certain individuals
Exactly.
into these places where
That's what
the
that's,
police officers can't really get no traction on.
and that's pretty much, you know, we want to believe that the police want to be a part of the community, but that's not a part of their job.
And they can only
You know what I
do
mean?
so
And
much.
they can only do so much.
Right.
They got rules and regulations they got to follow. But I can go.
But they also never,
anywhere.
not all of them, if any of them have ever lived that lifestyle.
True, and
So
that's
these kids, they know, they game recognized game, right? They can see who's who. They know who's who.
yeah, and that's one of the biggest assets we have. You know what I mean? That we know where they came from. We know where they're going. You know,
Right.
in the
That's why
towards-
my heart breaks,
Yeah.
man, because I see,
you see where they're headed.
I know where me and my homies have been and where guys that I know still are, right? And I know where we all started.
I still have family members gang
Right.
related.
So I know where it ends up.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And like, when you spend a whole lifetime in it, it's really hard to get out of it. It's
It-
not always easy.
It is. I mean,
But the resources are available and the help is there.
We're putting together. Even with this, we're going to continue to be reaching out. We're going to continue to be vocal, you know,
Right.
about this. This
Right.
is not just something that's going to happen and go away. You know, we're going to continue to talk to whoever we can, knock on anybody's door, especially politicians, the rules makers,
Right.
and city council and the people that are in charge of the funds that Spokane. Spokane is a rich city. You know what I mean? There's no reason why there should be funds that have multiple resources. Shouldn't be just the sheriff department or SPD, getting all this money to buy all kind of nice equipment. You know what I mean? Gangs, they generate money.
Hmm.
Because what happens is when a gang does anything and the kid gets arrested, that money, you know what I mean, there's money that the police department gets. Same way in Los Angeles. That's why
Right.
there'll
Yeah. Come
always
on,
be
man.
gangs
Let's talk,
in,
man.
in Los Angeles. I'm telling you right now,
Some people don't want it to
don't
go away.
ever think that gangs are going away because gangs generate money. All the new equipment that police department is buying, all
The DEA.
yeah, all the nice guns they got and all the weapons. Have you ever seen one of those task force guys? They got a whole body full of different weapons.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All kind of new gadgets that they got.
Yeah.
All that money is coming from to fight gangs.
Gangs and drugs. Yeah.
Gangs and drugs. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
So let's take some of that money, and get some community members together to do some suppression.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we live with these people. Most police officers, they don't live in the community.
Yeah.
They do their thing and go somewhere way away.
Yeah.
And just like in Los Angeles, most police officers have their own communities where everybody's the police.
Yeah.
So they protect their own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Beverly Hills, Hollywood,
Yeah.
they have their own department, and nobody goes up in there. No gang goes up in Beverly Hills or Hollywood or Brentwood or Bel Air. You know what I mean? Or certain parts in the valley, like Calabasas is where the what's them rich people, the Kardashians. You know what I mean? Kanye and all them, live up in the. No gang goes up in there.
Right.
So where the money people are, they're safe. And what I do know is anytime something used to slide their way, they would call and the police would come in and smash it.
Yeah.
Believe me, one of the reasons why they really want this gang violence and all this to stop because it's happening downtown now. That young man that lost his life last week was downtown. A lot of people from South Hill with money come downtown.
They're trying to keep that out of
That's
there.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. You're not gonna
Mess up the
come down
business.
and mess up the businesses
Yeah.
where they come and they kick back and they lounge outside and they go to the movies in the theaters. You're not gonna interfere with that. They're gonna put pressure on the police, gang task force. They're gonna give them money. You know what I mean? Hey, you guys
Make
need
this
to
go away.
Yeah, you might make this go away.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
rich folks, need to come down here and enjoy and spend their money.
Right. Right.
That's just how it works. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm California, I know how it works. Yeah,
Yeah.
and now it's happening in Spokane.
Right. Right.
But getting back to the resources, there are people that want to invest in what we're doing,
yeah.
that want to invest in helping kids. Just like I remember when Floyd was killed and the Black Lives Matters, all that was going on for a few days, for a few weeks, and then it died off. I ain't heard nothing in months about Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? What happened to all the hoopla? What happened to all the money that was generated? You know what I mean? We lost, 2, 3, 4 more Black lives since Floyd?
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Yeah.
Nothing has happened. Nothing. Nobody talks about it much anymore.
Right.
That's not the big news no more. You know what I mean? It seems like people jump on the bandwagon when it happens, and then slowly as it goes away, people move on and do their own things.
Right.
We are trying to create support for the kids that's going to last from now on.
Right.
It's never going to go away.
Right. Because, but I don't think a lot of people connect the issue to like these kids start off in gangs at an early age, and what else it leads to.
I was
right?
10.
Right. I was 13,
Yeah,
14.
I was 10.
And so what it leads into more drug sales, more drug dealing.
Yeah.
I know that, and then all that led into more violence. Domestic violence comes into play.
Yeah.
And eventually human trafficking, which in these neighborhoods, these environments,
And here, especially in Spokane.
we call it pimping, right? Pimping and prostitution, pimping and hoeing, right? So all of that comes from starting out being involved in gangs. Like
Right.
from what I've experienced, what I've seen, like and the dudes that put me on the pimping, human trafficking, they were all gang members. Before there were anything else, they were gang members that became drug dealers, that became killers, that became,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, domestically violent. Then eventually pimping happens.
Yeah.
Or it happens early on. You know what I'm saying? Like all these other issues that are going on. You don't like the homeless problem here in Spokane and the drug problem here in Spokane. Well, if we don't do nothing about it, these young boppers, man, that are 14 bopping people, they're
gonna
going to grow
escalate.
up to become and contribute to more of what we see right now.
Everything that's happened is escalating. All the problems that we're having is escalating.
Yeah.
There has been no suppression, so things are escalating as time goes on, until we can put some things together to address what's going on in the communities. It's unsafe. You mentioned something about a lady talked about.
Yeah, I was
It
in
is
Walmart.
unsafe. I was talking to my brother-in-law today. He got a 14, 15-year-old son. He doesn't let him go anywhere. My brother, I have a nephew, don't go anywhere by themselves. Really pick and choose where the kids go. I have other people that I know that go, just like Latrice was saying the other day, she keeps a close watch on her kids. You know what I mean? This is an unsafe city. Spokane
Right.
is unsafe for teenagers, mostly males.
Right.
You know,
And not just them, though, because other people in the community, like that lady, man, she was like,
well, she's affected. It's a
Yeah.
trickle down system.
and she lives up north.
Yeah, it's a trickle down system. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? The thing about it is if the kids are dysfunctional, then the rest of the family is affected. The neighbors affected. The people around the corner are affected. Gangs, once they establish something, it affects the whole neighborhood. You know what I mean? When I first started, we had the pro projects. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of people in the projects at that time. When I moved to Compton, same thing. Our whole neighborhood was covered and connected. You know what I mean? But we were a good neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you look from the outside, we were a good neighborhood. But at night, like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, I went out, and did other things.
Yeah.
And created other things. And our kids now, to me, are staying outside later and later.
Oh, major.
When I was coming up, I had to sneak out,
after the lights
get
came
home,
on.
get home
Before the lights come on. Get home before the lights come on.
And then when
sneak
my
out.
parents went to sleep, then I would sneak out and go back and do my thing.
Right.
These kids now, I can't believe it. 13, 14,
They're
15.
just doing whatever.
They're just out and about,
Yeah.
which is not good. We don't have anything for them to do. That's the problem. In LA, we started incorporating
options I was talking
nightlife.
about.
We had nightlife. The gangs controlled the parks in Los Angeles. So what we did is we went in and talked to them and said, from 3 to 7 or 3 to dark, we need the park. And they gave us the park. So right after school, kids could go to the park, and just before it got dark, they would go home. Gangs would come in and take their park over.
Yeah.
And we had no problem with that. Do your thing.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
crazy.
But let us work with these kids and keep instilling good and positive in these kids for the daylight. And then they go
yeah.
home.
Yeah.
We need something like that here.
Right. I feel like at a certain point, man, when you're doing enough dirt, you get caught up enough, you begin to feel like you want something different. You want something more.
Well, we gotta, but we have to supply that.
Right, right, exactly. And I think that's why those gang leaders were willing to work with you.
Because we supplied it.
Well, because they knew, like, deep down, you really don't want no kid getting caught up where you're at, where you can't get out
because
of it.
they had family members. I mean, I had a
Right,
couple of shot
right.
callers. Their grandsons were in my program.
Yeah.
And they're like, Will, man, if you can help my grandson, man, not to be like me, I appreciate it.
Exactly. That's what I'm
And there
saying.
it
Like,
is, yeah.
you know, and when you get to that point, man, some dudes never change.
Yeah.
You know, and we're trying to save as many of these kids as we can.
As we can. Yes, sir.
You know, so you talked about funding. We need to get funding. I believe
I
that.
understand the city has a bunch of money. We
Right.
just have to find out where it is and get some.
And how we get to it,
How we
right?
get to
How do
it.
we get to the money?
That's where I hope Phil is working right now.
Yeah, yeah. So like we gotta figure a way to get some of these elected officials in on like to understand and see that we got a problem, man. This is a crisis amongst our youth.
Well, I know for a fact that Sheriff Ozzie, has enough pull.
Yeah, the sheriff and the
Yeah,
chief
he's the
and
sheriff.
Phil Tyler. Yeah.
He just needs to get the chief on board.
Yeah,
You
and
know
the
what I
chief
mean?
is on board. I just don't think he was able to make it to the press conference
Oh,
that day.
okay. Yeah, chief needs to make some moves. You know what I mean? To put some of us out on the streets to help in the community because we're down here
On
I
the
guess
ground
it's
level.
The city, I guess, because you got the city and the county.
Yeah.
There's nobody, and I know that for a fact. There's nobody from SPD. There's nobody from law enforcement that actually works the streets and goes into the communities and talks to these families. I have about 3 friends that I know for sure that work for SPD, Gang Task Force, that actually go into the community. But that's 3 or 4 out of the whole force.
Is that Officer Carr and
Mike Carr
Valdez?
is a director. I know
Okay.
Mike Carr. I've worked
Okay.
with Mike Carr.
You know Valdez?
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. I didn't want to just throw no names out
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
but Valdez is the best community law enforcement officer I know, him and Big Ed Richardson.
But we need more people.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. We need somebody that's actually not, working for the police department. But I know SPD, just like any other police station, has funds, stipends they used to call them in L.A. To pay somebody. I've been trying to get Chief Mito to put me on as a stipend to go in the communities for about 3 years. No
Wow.
response. I've called him, no response, no response.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever his reason is, he doesn't want anybody, maybe anybody of color, going into the neighborhoods doing any suppression
Right.
at all. But that's not going to stop us right now. Too much done happened for
Yeah.
for us to avoid what we need to do. And I think that's where all this other money that Sheriff was talking about, is going to come into play to put together. I already got an offer from somebody that has a grant, 501B or something like that.
501c3.
C3. They
The-
have
the
one. They said,
nonprofit.
all you got to do is come up with a board, a name, and then they're willing to write grants for me.
So you got a grant writer. You just need to
Yeah.
come up with a nonprofit.
Well, I have somebody that has one.
Okay.
But they have other businesses. So what it says, I need a board. That could be me, you. It could be the grant writer. It
Yeah.
could be Phil. I already talked to Phil about it. To form the board, and then I have a grant writer who's willing to write the grants. And there's money up there. So if we can write grants, get our own money, we ain't got to worry about Milo or anybody in that position helping us out. That
Right.
way we can do it. You know what I mean, and don't be restricted by politics.
Yeah.
Because it's always the politics. We don't have this to do that and this to do that. Well, you say you want to stop the murders. You say you want to stop the shootings and the violence. You know what I mean? I know for a fact all police departments got pocket money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I work for big city police. You can't tell me that they don't have no funding. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I've listened to that for 4 years, and now I'm just tired of listening to the excuses.
Yeah. Well, there'll be other meetings, and I've had some meetings with the chief. I'm trying to figure out some stuff too, so I'll be coordinating more of that because we need to figure out how we can come together and work together and help
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
And whatever the differences are, we gotta learn to put that stuff aside, man.
Yeah.
Because just like you talked about, man, being on the inside and growing up in it and being a part of the Crip gang is all around the world.
Around the world, nationwide.
Like
And
3
the
times
Bloods.
around the world.
And the Bloods, because actually the Bloods broke off from the Crips.
From the Crips, yeah.
Exactly.
Way back in the day.
Well,
decades
I was
ago.
there when it happened.
Yeah, so like
What
this,
happened is Raymond
it
Washington
spread so much.
Raymond Washington had a fight with a guy named Puddin who lived on Piru. Piru was about 4 blocks from where I lived. Raymond came down to play some football at the park. them guys came with us. They were friends of mine. Went to the park, played football. Raymond and Puddin got into a fight, and Puddin lost the fight. Raymond was a good fighter, but they were mad at us because we didn't jump in and help them. So the next day we saw them. They said, "Man, we ain't running with you guys no more," and they started Pyru. That's how Pyru Blood started, and then it just grew from there.
And so it grew.
It grew from there, yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
all around the world. It's laps around the world. There's so
Exactly,
many of them.
Exactly.
And so, like, if we can't come together to deal with what's going on here in Spokane, then like our impact is minimal. And I'm seeking maximum impact.
Well, yeah. I believe today, you know what I mean, that it can happen.
Yeah.
I think the more we're vocal and visible and talking about the multiple resources that we have for these kids, school is starting pretty soon. We're going to need, because, I mean, I'm not a prophet, but I foresaw this problem coming when I got here in 2016. And I'm telling you right now, and I told some people down at the school district that come September, we're going to see a tsunami of behavior that's never been saw in schools ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of the year and a half, 2 years because of COVID,
Right.
the lack of good, positive companionship. You know what I mean? The lack of behavior modification that usually is going around, and the mental disorders that our kids are coming through with.
Yeah.
All of that combined is going to cause multiple problems on campuses where, 2 kids can shut down a classroom.
One.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah. And right now there is no solution for that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
And that's why we need the community to come together.
We need the community.
We need to bring and highlight the different organizations and ministries and groups that people can volunteer and become a part of.
And kids can have somewhere to go after school.
Right. But we need the community to get involved, because if we get the kids to come there, we need the mentorship. We need the relationships. We need people there, right, to help bring these kids out of a lifestyle that is destructive. And that's why I said at the press conference, man, there's so many differences amongst all of us as people. We can continue to try to do this separately. We can try to do this on our own.
It's not gonna work.
It's never gonna work, man. And like, we can also continue to leave God out of it and see how far we get with that, because even that's never gonna work.
That ain't gonna work.
That's never gonna work. So I come with Jesus, man. Like, but I'm still me though, right? And
Right.
so
You got to be. I mean, because Jesus has you where you are, doing what He wants you to do
For a reason.
You can't discount Jesus.
No, but that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
to the community, is that if we discount Him,
Right.
we're
we in
not
trouble.
we're in deeper trouble,
We're gonna be deeper
because
trouble.
it's already on the climb, right? The gang killings, domestic violence,
Yep.
suicide,
Yep.
and human trafficking. Is all of these things, drug addiction, abuse, all of these things are just steady climbing.
Steady climbing.
So
Steady climbing.
bringing all the people together as much as we want to, but if we discount Jesus Christ, man, we still don't have a chance.
Still don't have a chance.
We'll ruin it ourselves.
Yeah.
As people.
Left to our own devices, we got plenty of resources. I know, and we can't leave out the young women. Minister at our church, Minister Jamie Stacy, has a program called SWAG, SWAGE, Strong Women Achieving Greatness, and she's helped hundreds young ladies, you know what I mean, deal with whatever issues that they might have. And that's another resource that we're going to be allowed to use.
And Pastor Sean's got one too, right? Mentoring Today's Youth.
Yeah, Mentoring Today's Youth.
MTY.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just a couple of them,
Right.
And then add on, this one and that one. Like you're saying, the faith-based community, all these churches.
Man, I'm trying to get the churches involved, man. I'm like, there's way too many churches out here for everybody to just be hiding out inside and not want to get involved, or just chalking it up like They made their decision. They got to deal with it. Like, that's not how Jesus worked, man.
Exactly.
Imagine if Jesus said that to all of us.
But you know one thing I do.
Imagine if he said, man, they made their decision. I'm not going on the cross for these fools.
Right. But
We'll be
but,
done.
But Sean, one thing I understand, and one thing that's going to be worked on as well, is the fear factor. You know what I mean?
Man.
The fear factor keeps a lot of churches
Tucked
away
Yeah.
from the actual problem. You know, if you bring it to the church, you know what I mean? Oh, they'll pray for you, hallelujah, and all that if you come to the church. But I don't know. I know our program, Pastor Sean Davis, we have two programs. One is Labor of Love, which my sister runs. And then we have our street outreach program, which we go out and give out water since there's been a lot of problems with the heat.
Yeah.
You know, and I know being an ex-addict that, you know, when you're using drugs and alcohol, you become very, very dehydrated and thirsty. So every 2 or 3 days, we take cases of water downtown and just give them out to anybody we see that's homeless.
Right.
We do this all the time. That's another part of our ministry. You know, and we're going to keep on looking for things to go out in the community to do, you know what I mean? Because Jesus is the answer. You know, we need to let them know, you know,
Jesus is the answer. Right.
And right now, the water and stuff that we give away, man, it's a huge impact. You know, you'd be surprised when you see the look on people's face when you offer them a bottle of water. You know what I mean? And because they spent their last dime on a hit.
Right.
You know, they spent their last dollar on a hit.
Right.
You know what I mean? To where they're driving what we used to call cotton mouth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
Barely talk, you know, because
You're like,
drugs and
Yeah.
And we come up with water. You know what I mean?
It's the answer to their prayer.
Exactly.
Right.
Jesus is the answer because Jesus sent us out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how we
They
got
knew.
to
They know they made the wrong decision choosing to spend their money on that than what they need.
Of course they do.
So it's a silent answer. It's an answer to a silent prayer.
Yeah, you know, but
You
it's
know what I'm
not.
saying?
It's not us up to us to judge.
Nah, man.
Why they got cotton mouth?
No,
we
right.
know why they got cotton mouth.
Yeah, we still got to give them.
Our jobs, you know what I mean, working for Jesus is to go out there and pass out them bottles of water.
Right. So with these kids, it's our jobs to love them,
To love them,
And
show
to-
them, you know, care and
encourage
concern.
them and empower. You know, it's really just love them.
Because you know,
So that's one of the things I really want to start trying to get into. Also, man, like, what can the neighborhoods do? The residents on their street, what can they do? They know that this family's over here struggling, right? And they're suffering, they're going through things, and the kids are doing. How can we help them to love on these kids?
well, once we actually start getting more support in what we're doing, and I know we're gonna get a lot after this show because I've already got calls from people that want to get involved.
Right.
Then we can start maybe having larger meetings.
Yeah.
And our church,
We just start moving around, having
Exactly.
little meetings,
there, here
like
and
how
there.
the gangs have meetings.
Yeah, we need
we
to
need to
have
have meetings. Come on, man.
yeah, you know, because our church is always willing to help feed. You know what I
Right,
mean? If we
right.
find out, like you said, we go into a neighborhood and say, you know, who needs this, that, and other, and they say, oh yeah, well, we could use some canned goods, dry goods, or whatever. Our church has abundance of stuff, that boxes that we pass out.
See, and
so
that's
that
right.
is not a problem.
See,
once
you're-
we find out whether there's a problem, is we have solutions that Jesus
Right.
is the answer.
Your church is that way because of the background of its leaders,
That's it.
right?
Pretty
You know
much.
what I'm saying? And so,
Yeah.
a problem that I see in a lot of other churches is that the leadership, even the lead pastor, they didn't grow up in these environments, right? With these backgrounds, and so I feel, I could be wrong, but this is from my observation and even my experience, that a lot of these church leadership teams overlook the value and the gifts and talents of a person or a ministry within their own church that has influence in the streets, that has impact in the streets. So they don't pour into them. They don't get involved, or they don't get behind them and support them. Because if not everybody knows how to go into the community, but you got some people in your street, in your church that know how to do that, You need to put some resources behind them, support them, and empower them to go out into the community to do work for Jesus in the community. I don't know if that makes sense, but I see that very vivid.
I follow you now because
I see that very vividly.
What came to mind is that is my brother Pastor Sean. Just one day, I forgot 2-3 weeks ago, it just God put it on his heart that we needed to do more in our community around where the church is. Right, we have our
Yeah.
own neighborhood, and he decided that we're going to have a neighborhood day.
Barbecue.
Yes, you heard about
I
that.
pulled up. I was with.
Oh, that's right. You did come over there
with Papa Keith Jones.
Exactly.
Were you there?
I was there.
I
yeah.
think I met
So-
you that. Yeah. Okay.
So my brother got a water slide, a big water slide.
He had the Island Boys playing volleyball and
He
playing
bar-
a
he-
local
he
the
barbe-
Island
he
reggae music.
barbecued. We had the Marshallese kids there in the neighborhood with the
Yeah.
other people, and we just threw on a big community day. And he's gonna be doing that maybe every other month, and then we're gonna implement a movie night.
Right.
Where he's gonna buy whatever, and then have a screen out there and invite the neighbors. See, that's the type of thing that Pastor Sean is putting together to bring the community to the church, if just only to enjoy fellowship,
The
fe-
festivities.
knowing
Right.
that hey, you know what, we can go down
we can
here
go
and
to
have
our
a good
church.
time. Yeah,
Right. That's how he gonna
Yeah.
build relationships and trust
Yeah.
in his community.
In his
'Cause
community.
from another thing I've seen is like there's no trust in the churches out here, man. Or even in other cities where like because I'm involved I'm in conversations about the gang violence. I'm in conversations about the human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in conversations about the domestic violence with people that are of like position of influence and power in our communities,
Mm-hmm.
and there's zero church presence in these meetings,
Mm.
and it's been like that for a very long time. So I'm seeing a lot of organizations, groups, people in the community trying to make change, and they don't expect nothing from the churches.
Wow.
That's sad, man. That breaks my heart. That frustrates me. Like how can we call ourselves followers of Jesus in the church and then be okay that our community they won't even come to us for help. So now the churches also are playing catch up and trying and needing to rebuild relationship and trust in our
In
community.
the communities.
Right? Like that's just crazy to me, man. In the schools, in the politics, in all of these in these areas and spaces and places where issues are happening that are destroying families, even just in the community, people don't trust the church. I'm like, what does that say about Jesus, man? That's crazy.
And yeah, it is sad,
And I'm not okay with that, man.
yeah. Like I said, I know a few other pastors, but for me, I stay focused on whatever Jesus is the answer is doing, and what my brothers suggest that we do, as
Right.
members of the church, and we're all in. Anytime he makes a suggestion or has an idea, or God sends him a message to do X X X, we all in.
See, and that's
we
another.
all in, and we
I
just
see
take
it.
off.
I see it. I see it. I also see it in a way that a big reason why a lot of Christians aren't in the community actively doing something in their very neighborhoods
Mhm.
is because their pastors don't go out into the community either. So if your pastor is not doing it and talking about it, if he's not being about it, then neither are the people gonna be about it either.
And that's painful.
It is painful, man. It's
You know.
hurtful, man. It really is, man, because people are dying out here.
Mhm.
They're suffering, they're struggling, and they're going to hell because they don't know the Savior of the world, right? And they want help. They don't know where to get help. And they don't trust anybody,
Yeah.
including the church, right? And some of these kids, when their families totally break down and they have a decision to make on where they're going to go, if it's between the church and the gang, they're going to choose the
They're
gang
gonna choose the game.
off top
Yeah.
automatically.
I mean, like I said, being there from the beginning, man, and I was one of those type of guys, man. I was always very personal, you know what I mean? And I could always see what the next guy might need. You know what I
Right.
mean? We had a big family, myself, so we always had a little extra, you know. And say my friend needed a little extra this or extra that, extra that. I could always kind of help out. And what it did was it caused them to be indebted to me. You know what I
Right.
mean? To see that I cared more than people they live with, because the people they live with didn't provide the little
Right.
extra.
So their loyalty became onto you.
Yes, yes, and that's what's happening now in our communities. Not saying that the parents, you know, aren't giving the kids all they
Some of
need,
them aren't.
and some of them aren't. You know,
Yeah,
because
let's
you
be
got single
real.
parents just trying to do the best they can do.
Right.
But in the kids' mind, and what we do suffer from a lot up here in Spokane is teen entitlement, to where the teenagers just think the parents owe them stuff,
Right.
or the grandparents, or whoever the guard, or the city, or the school district. You know what I mean? They just feel like, you know, they don't have to really put in the work to get, you know, what they want. You
Yeah.
know, like I said, I was told, you know, hey, you go to school, you get your education. Me and your mama got the rest of this. You know what I mean? And we
Right.
never wanted or needed anything in my family.
See.
You know,
See. So I believe that when you started to provide needs for some of your homies, and you saw how they became loyal to you, Satan got a hold of you,
oh yeah,
and you were able to use that for further death and destruction.
yeah.
Right. And that still gets provided for in other environments around our community, around in different states other than in LA.
Yeah,
So when there's no church out there, there's no man of God out there saying, "Hey, I see you need this or that. I got that for you." Right. And when you show that kind of love and support, that's what leads these kids to Jesus, man.
yeah.
That's what leads them back to love.
And that's what's going to bring
But
them.
if we are not out there doing that, and the gangsters out there doing that, the drug
Oh.
dealers out there doing that,
Yeah.
they get tied up. That's the rest of their life, dog. Them kids get in it at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, and that's the rest of their life right there.
Yeah.
And even at a time, if they want to get out of it, they take steps and make decisions that don't allow them to just leave now.
To just leave now.
Now you
yeah.
just don't, you can't just walk away now.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I guess that's just my plea to the Christians out there that are listening, man. Like, even if your pastor ain't doing it, man, I feel like, who do you follow? Your pastor, or you follow Jesus? Because even if my pastor don't go out into the streets, I got no choice, man. Because that's where my father's at, and
You
I
gotta
follow
go.
him.
You know who
I
goes
follow
out there
him.
regular? Victory Outreach.
Yeah,
I see him down there in Skid Row all the time, down there with the homeless all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and their pastor passed away, Pastor Marino, but they're still going out there. They're
'cause
still giving back.
He discipled them to do that.
Exactly. Him and my brother were real close. My brother did his services. You know,
Wow.
that man really helped those that were down and out. And now his parishioners still following his lead. His wife is following his lead. So we need more people that's willing to go down there and get down there
do
in
that.
the pits, so
Right.
to speak. You know what I mean?
And if you're not willing to go, and I don't expect every pastor, right, to just be out there like that,
Right.
but equip your people to go out there like that. Take notice, be discerning of who comes from the streets that has a heart for those in the streets, and disciple that man or that woman. Equip them,
yeah.
right? Empower them and send them out.
Yeah, empower them. I like that, because the last time we went downtown, I went with two sisters in the church and their kids. And their kids. Got a little boy, and Quincy, and he was riding with me. And as soon as we would pull up, he would jump out and grab bottles of water. And I think he's about 7, 8, 9 years old, and just was giving them to the homeless people. You know what I mean? When I saw that, I like, that's what we need more and more of. A
Right.
kid that from the heart, just as pure as you can be.
He being raised in it.
Exactly, because he's raised, because his parents, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
come to
yeah,
our church. His
yeah.
parent has him involved in church. So I didn't have to prompt him. He knew we were going to feed the homeless or pass out water to the homeless, and he was down.
How old is he?
He's about 8 or 9.
Right.
Yeah,
See,
you
so
know,
he's already being raised in it, so he
already,
know what to do. With it.
already. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah.
know it's giving back. He know there's no he's not looking for any reward or any payments.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he told me when I took him back home, he said, you know, when we going again? You know, he wants to go
He's
again.
ready.
Yeah, he's ready.
ready.
You know.
And I believe God's raising up those people that go right back into the community to do work.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up, man. But we're gonna continue the conversation. It's not gonna stop.
Yeah, you know, like I said, they need to hear. We need to keep putting it out there, and
Right.
it's not like, you know what I mean, we just bumping our gums. You know,
Nah,
we're putting it in
man.
action, and we're going to keep on putting
Right.
it out there
Right.
that this is a major problem. You know what
In
I
our
mean?
community.
And we don't want
Right.
to see another young person
Lose
die
their life. Right.
because we're sitting back just waiting on funds or who's going to do this and who's going to do that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
See, in the world we come from, man, like you better be about it. You
better
can't
be
speak
about
about
it.
it. Don't
That's
don't
right.
speak about it. Be about
Be
it.
about it,
You
man.
get your car pulled real quick.
Real quick.
Real quick.
you
And
know.
yeah. And so like, and once you get your car pulled, you can't really do much after
Not
that.
much you can do after that. Once-
So I don't know how to implement that into this life now. But like, we need people to be about what they say they're about, right?
And I think
So,
God's gonna
he's
send us
sifting
people.
all that.
He's
He's sifting
already
all that.
sending us people. I already getting
Right.
phone calls. I know we're gonna get some more from here. You know what I mean? That people see that maybe for the first time this year, you know, back to back, people actually stating what they want to do, how we need community help, how we need the parents help. You know what I mean? I already got a list of parents that's willing to come to the table and meet. What can we do, Will? What can we
Let's
do?
do it, man.
I got a couple of business owners.
Right.
You know what I mean? A friend of mine, he comes from Compton as well. Has his own place out there. It's called the Soul Food Lounge. You know what I mean? Over on Sprague and Ultima. He's willing to help out. He wants to help the youth, you know, because of his past
See, so
background.
as all these are coming together,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
a part of another group of people that are bringing the community together to raise awareness on the human trafficking problem.
Okay,
And it's
okay.
called Spokane Cast, Community Against Sex Trafficking.
Right.
As these groups are growing, I want to bring us all together
Right.
because it's all a part of the same problem.
And everybody has their specialty.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all a part of the same problem because it's all demonic, right?
Right.
It's all a evil strategy from Satan to destroy our youth and to destroy our city. So, and they all stem out of the same places.
Right. So we're in a fight.
Yeah.
We're in a fight,
Yeah.
and you know I've always you know been up for a good fight,
Yeah,
for a good
yeah,
squabble.
I'm a
We used to
good
call it back in
squabble,
the
yeah.
day. We used to call it back in the day.
Squabble.
So, but you know I know that it takes a village. Even when I was gang banging, it was a bunch of us, you know, and we
Yeah.
all got together, you know what I mean, to do what we were doing. Now that you know we're in a different life, different lifestyle, we got to go back to that. We need
We
we need to gang up on we need
gang
to
up
gang
on
up
these
on this
demons.
problem.
Gang up on these demons.
Yeah, we
Curse
definitely
off a
do that.
demon.
Yeah. But you know, I appreciate you having me here, and I'll be willing to come anytime you need me to come here, man.
I appreciate that,
Talk
man.
about whatever.
Yeah. Sammy, can you put my number up?
Yeah, it'll be a job.
Or put it up right now because I'm about to say so, please, in my email. Because really, man, like you said, we got to put ourselves out there. People need when they hear and
Can
they
they
see,
put mine up too?
huh?
Can they put my number up?
Yeah, can you throw this other number up too?
323-338-9801.
9801.
9801. William Davis.
William Davis. Yeah, so man, if you guys, man, all it takes is a click and a share of this video to help us get the word out.
Yeah.
Our community needs it. The youth needs it. It's not really that hard to get involved.
No.
There's a lot of resources out there, and there's a group of us that are involved that can point you into different directions or to different groups,
Resources.
programs, resources to get involved in, and even for the kids to get help too. So my number is up there. My name is Sean. Will Davis's number is going to be popping up next. Give us a call, text us, whatever you need to do. We're available. We're out here, and we can't do it alone.
Not at all.
We need to build a team. We need a squad to be able to, change the future for our kids and for the city of Spokane. So thank you for tuning in. I know that was a long conversation, but these hard conversations, they're not quick.
Yeah.
And they're not always easy.
Yeah.
But the healing and the growth that comes out of it,
And the educational part.
and
Yeah.
the learning, which I feel like that's all a part of the growth. It's
Gotta
worth
have
it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Like I said, the community needs to know.
Yeah.
And sometimes they need to know what they're dealing with. It's
Right.
not just you got a bad kid. You know what I mean? No,
Duh.
it goes way, way farther than
Right,
that.
right. So one of the things I'm working on is shooting a documentary in the next year. I got a grant from Spokane Arts to be able to do that on the youth and why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
Because I know that they're misunderstood.
Yeah.
And people
Miseducated.
misguided, all of that.
Yeah.
But they're misunderstood by everybody else on the outside looking in.
People,
Right? And if people knew more, had a deeper insight as to why these kids do what they do, I think that will break down anything around any walls around their hearts that keep them from wanting to help and getting involved.
Yeah.
Right? Because if,
No, that's a good point. That's a
So-
good point because there's a lot of people out there with money
yeah,
that could give but
Right.
don't give because they really don't understand
the
what's going
importance,
on.
right?
The important
And
or
then
the
there's
importance.
people that don't got money, but they have a heart for it, but they also don't know where to go to help,
To-
and how to get involved.
how to get
How
involved.
can I help?
There you go.
Right.
There
So
it
there's
is.
always
we
there's
got both components.
there's a
people
place
with the
for
money
all of
need
that.
to know, and people without money that just want to give the heart and the help. We can use
We
all
need
that.
all of that.
All that.
Yeah. And so I'm gonna need your help
Yeah.
in putting this
Hey.
this documentary together,
You
man.
got it, man.
Because I believe that these kids need to tell their stories.
hmm I got some kids that's willing to step up.
Okay.
Graduates from high school, but they were gang members when I met them. And they
Right.
said, "Will, you need us, let us know."
Okay.
They're willing to put it out there, how they used to be and how they are now, due
see.
to services, support.
See, that's the
and
other part
belief.
I want to share.
Yeah,
Because
that
this
part-
is
that
what it
part.
looks like.
Yeah, after. Yeah.
Once if they get the help, right?
That's it.
The attention, the love, man.
Yeah.
You're worth it, bro. Jesus loves you.
Yeah.
You got a plan and a purpose for your life.
Exactly.
And it's not death and destruction. It's not suffering.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but if they don't get that opportunity, then we lose them
Yeah.
forever. And we lose one, we lose a whole generation.
Yeah.
A family
a whole
legacy.
crew, a family,
Family
because-
legacy.
Because I tell people all the time, I realized later on that everything I did affected my family.
Oh,
I
off
had
top.
7 brothers and sisters and my mother and father. I had uncles and aunties. And every time I went and got incarcerated, I was thinking also all about me, man. I got to figure out a way to get out. I got to get a lawyer, this, that, and other. I was never, ever thinking about how this affected my family, man.
Right.
It was all about me, And in recovery, we say when you're drinking and using and committing, crime, you become selfish, self-seeking, and self-centered.
Right.
I didn't think about what others was doing to my family. Not at all. Not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Until later on when I learned that I was just taking away time from them to be selfish. I was being selfish.
Yeah.
And kids think, okay, if I'm hanging out with my gang, then my family don't matter.
Yeah.
Because this is my family now.
Right.
Which is
Or,
not
or sometimes it's the other way around. I'm gonna chill with them because my family don't care.
yeah.
Because don't nobody else care.
So we need to get them back into the family-minded mode, I call it.
Right. The mindset. Yeah.
The mindset, the family-minded mode. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Thank you, brother.
Oh,
Hey,
thank
man,
you,
I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you.
Dude, it's on now.
It's on now.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. Hey,
Wrap
thank
up.
you, Spokane. I know it's time, and I know that you're ready and that you can do this because you have done it. Spokane's done it. They've saved my life.
Mhm.
People in Spokane saved my life.
Yeah.
When I could have just went back to what Will and I have been talking about this whole time. So don't ever think that you can't, that Spokane can't come back from where we're at.
Yeah.
As long as we got Jesus Christ, you can come back from anything,
Anything.
everything. So we're going to wrap up till the next time. God bless you. Thank you. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
You good?